Okay, we'll cover section 3.2 now, and also the rest of 3.3. So the topic here is quadratic equations. Quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and a is not 0. There are 4 methods for solving a quadratic equation. Item 1 is to factor. Factoring is going to be your best option by far and away, okay, especially if you can see the factorizations. Item 2 is to use the square root property. Item 3 is to complete the square. And item 4 is to use the quadratic formula. For example, suppose that we want to solve 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, well, this is going to factor nicely as 2x minus 3 times x plus 1 equals 0. And that means that x is equal to 3 halves or x is equal to negative 1 is the 2 solutions. Okay, now factoring, by the way, is something that I feel like we should have all been there and done that before. Okay, so I'm going to primarily focus on these other 3 concepts. The next problem, x minus 4 squared equals 12. If you take the square root of both sides, x minus 4 equals plus or minus 12. Add 4 to both sides, and plus or minus 12, root 12, is it breaks down as 2 root 3. So 4 plus or minus 2 root 3 would be the 2 answers there. And like you would any other problem, just leave those in exact form. Of course, simplified form. And you know, unless you're told to use the calculator, that's fine. Keep an exact form is the point with that. The next one, 2x minus 3 squared equals negative 5. If we take the square root of both sides, 2x minus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of negative 5. The square root of negative 5 would be I root 5. Okay, and so if I add 3 and then divide by 2, x is equal to 3 plus or minus I root 5 all over 2. Okay, and again, leave those in exact form for me. Okay. When it comes to completing the square, there's a particular process that you take to complete the square. Now we've already looked at this earlier. Here's 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, 2x squared minus x minus 3 equals 0. X equals 3 halves and x equals 1. Okay, so let me show you how to get this by using the completing the square method. Step 1 when we complete the square is to get a 1 in front of the x squared term. I've got a 2 in front of that, so I want to divide by 2 on both sides. Okay, and then I add 3 halves to both sides. X squared minus 1 half x equals 3 halves. Now, I want to take half of the number in front of x squared. Okay, so half of negative 1 half is negative 1/4. Negative 1/4 squared gives me 1/16. So 1/16 is the number that I need to add to both sides. 3 halves plus 1/16, the same as 24 over 16 plus 1 over 16, which gives me 25 over 16. On the left, I get x minus 1/4 times x minus 1/4. And by the way, when you go to factor the left side, the factors will always be the same. Always. And it will always include the number that you were the number that you before you squared it, going to the getting this number here. Okay, so the number that before I squared it was x minus 1/4 times x minus 1/4. Well, that's going to be the factors. Okay, that will always happen. So x minus 1/4 squared equals 25/16. X minus 1/4 equals plus or minus the square root of 25/16, which is plus or minus 5/4. When I add 1/4 to both sides, I get x equals 1/4 plus or minus 5/4. 1/4 plus 5/4 gives me 6/4. 6/4 reduces to 3/2. And 1/4 minus 5/4 gives me negative 4/4, which reduces to negative 1. Negative 1 and 3/2 are the two answers, though, that we saw to that equation. Okay, now obviously, when would we prefer to complete the square? Well, obviously, when an equation factors initially, factoring is going to be the easiest way to go. Okay, so I would recommend not completing the square unless you're told to do that. Only, make sure that you know all four of these methods, but only use them when you're told to use the correct form. Okay. Another one. 2x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. I'll try to factor and see if we can get the factors. Well, let's see. So 2x be 1 and 1. 2x will go plus 1 and x minus 1. That's going to give me 2x plus x, which I don't have. 2x minus 1 times x plus 1 gives me 2x 2x minus x is x. Okay, so I don't see any other option, okay, with factoring, which means factoring is not going to be the way to go here. Let's try completing the square. I need a 1 in front of x squared, and so if I divide by 2, x squared minus 3/2 x minus 1/2 equals 0. X squared minus 3/2 equals x equals 1/2. Okay, so I need half of the number in front of x squared. I'm going to add that new number to both sides. Half of the number in front of x squared. Okay, so for us that's going to be negative 3/4 squared gives me 9/16. 9/16 is the number that I need to add to both sides. So I get x squared minus 3/2 x plus 9/16 equals 1/2 plus 9/16. 8/16 plus 9/16 gives me 17/16. And x squared minus 3/2 x plus 9/16 factors as x minus 3/4 times x minus 3/4. By the way, I can very easily get these two factors. Okay, I just take a look at the number that before I'm squaring on the previous line. Okay, so I need to take half of the number in front of x. That's negative 3/4. Well, hey, x minus 3/4 times x minus 3/4. X minus 3/4 squared equals 17/16. Take the square root of both sides. X minus 3/4 equals plus or minus square root of 17 over square root of 16 is 4. X equals 3/4 plus or minus the square root of 17/4, which is equal to 3 plus or minus 17 square root of 17 all over 4. Okay. So the reason why I was not seeing the factors very easily is because these nasty numbers right here are the two factors. And these are not numbers that I would be guessing, checking on. So I can do this one. 2m squared plus 10m minus 3 equals 0. Well, so m squared plus 5m equals 3/2. Okay, so m squared plus 5m plus, let's see, 5/2 squared. It gives me 25/4 plus 3/2 plus 25/4 equals 3/2 20 plus 25/4. Okay, so I take half of the number in front of x squared, and half of 5 is 5/2 squared. It gives me 25/4. Okay, so m plus 5/2 squared equals, let's see, 32 over 31. 31 over 4. And so now I take the square root of both sides. M plus 5/2 equals plus or minus 31/2. Square root of 31/2. Subtract 5/2 from both sides, so m is equal to -5 plus or minus square root of 31 all over 2. Well, that's right here. -5 plus or minus square root of 31 all over 2. Okay. Of course, another way to look at this is that these nasty numbers right here are the two factors. Okay, and these are not numbers that you would be guessing and checking. So the way that we did the calculation is actually the best possible way that you could have done the calculation. Okay. Tell you what, why don't we stop right there?